welcome back into League of Our Own. Great to have you with us. If you're here for the first time or if you have returned, make sure you like this video and subscribe. Follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and it'll get more people loving and enjoying Kiwis talking about Kiwi Rugby League with myself, Goran Paladin, and the legend, the icon, 331 first grade games in the NRL. Adam Blair, great to see you again, my buddy. How are you?
Always great to see you, Goran. Yes, now I'm awesome, man. Busy, rugby league as always, but loving life, and it's always great to have a chat about, rugby league, and also obviously our Kiwi players in the game, and obviously these guys behind us, the Wars.
Yeah, up the Wars. And, it's a great place to start, actually, because it's report card time. I feel like we're past the first term of 3, if you like. We've seen 8 matches played by the Warriors. You play 24 matches in a regular season. So it's a good time to take stock and assess how they've actually gotten on. And it's their equal best start on a par with what you and your Warriors did in 2018. And if people need a little bit of a reminder as to what happened in 2018, you finished 8th. That might sound a little bit mediocre, but you were only 2 points off top spot because you had 4 teams on 34 competition points. You were one of 4 teams on 32. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck went on to claim the Dally M medal. It was a bloody good year for you guys. So to think that the 2025 edition of the One New Zealand Warriors is on an equal footing with your version back in 2018, that's got to be promising, man.
Yeah, it's a long time ago, Goran. 2018.
It's not that long ago. You're not that old. Don't worry.
Well, it was exciting times. I think getting an opportunity to play for the Warriors and coming home and starting that the way that we did back then. I think we started off over in Perth.
Yeah, that's right.
In WA, and
it was a double header, eh?
Yeah, and won our first game there and built some momentum off the back of that. And I think, although this year for the Warriors isn't the same as 2023, but the hype and the consistency of, looking at them as an NRL team and also their New South Wales Cup team, definitely challenging each other to be the best version of them when they go out on the field, because their New South Wales Cup team is sitting pretty comfortably at the top of the ladder down there. So it just shows that there's some real good consistency at the moment at the Warriors, and it relates to their performances, and they've been outstanding. I thought Magic Round was magic for them, especially, and this is, when I played for the Warriors a long time ago, the fans, and this has been a big story over here, especially with what they created over the weekend in Magic Round at Suncorp Stadium.
They were epic, mate.
The fans have just gotten behind the Warriors, and they continue to grow. But I guess the social media team, the Warriors themselves, the players, the staff have really embraced this whole team again. And I know they didn't go as well last year, but 2023 was an exciting year for the club. I feel like the momentum's going again for them, which is great for the country, because they do have the whole country backing them, and the fans are getting behind them. I think they're sitting pretty comfortable at the near the top of the table at the moment, and playing some really consistent footy.
Oh, so they are comfortable. Last week you were saying, I'm not sure if they are comfortable. 1 week goes by and they are?
Oh, well, I've actually dug a little bit deeper.
Have you?
I've dug a little bit deeper rather than just
skimming
the surface, just skimming the surface. I think there's more to the Warriors when you look at their jaw further on. We'll get to that, though.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. If you look at
what a tease, mate. Oh, I'm excited now.
So yeah, I feel like when I think about where they can be and end up when we get there, that's what I'm talking about, being comfortable. But again, rugby league can change really quickly. Consistency is key, consistency with players, but it's exciting. They're welcoming some big names back into the team as well. But they didn't start well in Vegas. A little bit of a blimp there. They've come back and played some great footy. The big game against the Melbourne Storm. What is it now? 18 straight losses. Hoping that they could have gone down there and got a job done against the Melbourne Storm. They got a bit of a touch up. But I feel like those 2 touch-ups that they've learned some really good lessons about themselves, their game style, they're comfortable, they're happy with the way that they're playing. Everyone understands their roles and their responsibilities. And obviously a big key to that is Wade Egan, Luke Metcalf, at the middles, the leaders. Aaron Clark's been enormous. And obviously they haven't had one of their captains on the team, James Fisher-Harris, but everyone seems to have found a role inside their squad, even if there's been people sitting on the sidelines.
One of the most impressive things for me is that they are doing it with some of those leaders on the sidelines. James Fisher-Harris, we haven't seen him for a few weeks. We haven't seen Dallin Watene-Zelezniak at all, and we know how devastating a finisher he can be on the flank. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck as well. And so with a number of these top quality players with so much experience on the sideline, and they're still only 2 points from the top, and the only 2 teams that they've been defeated by this year, Blairy, they also reside inside the top 4. Previous years, you'd see the Warriors after maybe a third of the season, and you'd go, oh, okay, so they managed to squirrel away a win against like a top 8 team, and then they're losing against teams outside of the top 8. But they've been very, very consistent. You mentioned the Melbourne Storm defeat. It's almost like you can just lock that away and forget about it. Like that's the yearly event. You bar up for a Melbourne Storm game, and ultimately it ends in tears and failure. But if you think, well, okay, well that's pretty much like you can set your watch to that. It's been a really good year, apart from that, of course, and the way that they started. And you mentioned it, what they've got to come. I think they can really solidify their spot inside the top 4. And hell, over the next month or so, man, they could actually go top of the ladder, given that we're entering into the origin period and we're expecting a lot of disruption among some of those clubs. I mean, the Raiders are going so well that you'd think that a lot of their players will be sucked up. Hudson Young, I mean, Laurie Daly would be an absolute moron not to pick somebody like him in a team that's performing so well. And so, yeah, you're definitely going to see disruption to the Melbourne Storm. The Bulldogs will lose the likes of Crichton, for example. Maybe Matt Burton if he strings together a few games without injury or suspension or the like. So it's a real opportunity for the Warriors to cement it. So you were mentioning earlier, looking at that month ahead to solidify their spot inside the top 4. What are some of the games that we can look forward to that they might be able to just continue that run?
These 3 games, I think they can win. These 3 games, I think they win. The Dragons, I think the Dolphins are in there, and the Rabbitohs, and then they've got inside there as well as the Raiders and also the Sharks. So if I look at the 5 games, there's definitely 3 games that are winnable for the Warriors, the way that they're playing right now. Obviously, there's going to be a bit of a challenge up against the Canberra Raiders if they keep consistently playing the way they are, which I don't see them falling off. And then there's a Sharkies team who I think between those 2, they'll be sitting in that top 6 positions of the competition. Real good squads, challenging teams that will definitely challenge for, finals berth. But who knows? I think if you can get those first 3, you win one of those harder games. There's 8 points, and then there's a bye, I think, round 15 for them. So I think there's another extra 2 points on there. They're sitting. That's another 10 points. They could be sitting closer to the top of the ladder if they stay consistent, if they understand their game style, if they build a lot of momentum through this next period, this next month. And I reckon somewhere subconsciously, I think they would be thinking about this next 5 games and what that looks like for them as a club, and where they're
Once
heading.
a warrior, always a warrior, mate.
And where they're heading and what direction they want to be in. And so I think definitely ticking off those first 3 games that I mentioned, Canberra Raiders, you might jag one of those ones against Canberra or the Cronulla Sharks. You could end up with 10 points. You could end up the maximum of 12 with their bye included. So a really interesting period for the Warriors, and definitely doable and gettable. Man, who says that they're not sitting at the top of the ladder come the end of those games? And man, the fans who are already behind it, the the country who are already behind them, and also the players. I think this would be a great period for them to showcase who they are and what they're going to do this year.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice to see, eh? And the fans getting in behind them, yeah. And I suppose you've already mentioned it. The reason that they are doing so well is on the back of form from Wade Egan. Mitch Barnett has been huge. Basically, anybody who plays alongside him in the middle has been marvellous. But Luke Metcalf is a guy that, we had our doubts about him, and I think we've been honest about that. On the back of that Raiders Las Vegas performance, we wondered whether he was a 7, and he's proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is more than competent, more than capable. Here are some of the stats coming out of the Cowboys game in case you missed them. 2 tries, kicked 5 goals. He ran for 162 metres. We spoke about him being a running 6. He's a running 7. He made 7 tackle breaks and 2 line breaks. But I think out of all of it, the most impressive part was the tackle that he produced, the try-saving tackle on Murray Taulangi in the corner. And it was crucial, man. Like at a time in the game where the Warriors were trying to figure out their right edge defence, Rocco Berry was sidelined, so they shift Kurt Capewell out. And the Cowboys basically ran a lot of plays, a lot of traffic down that right-hand side. And they were, I don't want to say they were bleeding points, but, it was squeaky bum time, man. Like, it was getting a little bit closer than we would have liked, especially after the avalanche of points in the first half. And who's there to pick off Murray Taulangi but Mr. Metcalf himself? And that was the game-winning, game-turning moment. It almost halted the Cowboys' momentum. So not only is he directing the Warriors around the park on attack, he's pulling off these ridiculously awesome match-saving moments. He stepped up when it counted against the Broncos at Mount Smart to have the stones to kick that goal from halfway when Reece Walsh conceded the penalty, kicking it out on the full. He's loving these big moments, and he's basically winning those big moments.
Well, he's enjoying himself, Goran. He's playing consistent footy. He's obviously got a newborn baby, so he must be getting lots of sleep. Must be getting lots of sleep. I don't know too many people that have newborns that, don't sleep at all. They always get really good sleep. So he must be doing all the things right off the field.
Blairy, I've got a 2-year-old and I still don't get much sleep, mate. So, yeah, good luck,
I've got an 8-year-old that still wants to sleep in the bed with their parents. So he's got a lot of work to do. But obviously, when we talk about footballers, Goran, to match their performances on field, a lot of their off-field stuff have to marry up. Yeah. And understanding, obviously, he's got a new baby. Life's different now. There's more of a purpose to what you do when you become an athlete. And just being, a father or a parent in general, there's a different mindset in the way that you do your things. So I feel like he's playing some consistent footy. He's enjoying himself. He looks like he's having fun. And, man, he deserves a lot of this because he's had a horrid run of, injuries through his time from when he turned up to the Warriors and just couldn't find any momentum. And I think, what he's doing now is a reward for the sacrifices and the hard work that he's put in for his, I guess, first and foremost, his mindset and his mental side of the game, but also now getting to understand what's needed as a team. And he's playing some great footy. You said it, they were leaking points down that side. They come after them, the Cowboys. And in that one moment, Luke Metcalf found himself in a position to make a try-saving tackle and got the job done. And I guess he's confident in himself. He's confident in his game style. He's confident in the game plan that Coach Webster gives him and the players around him, how they can execute it. And on the back of some of his stuff, his kicking game, the way he's running the ball, his support play, and on the back of also the forwards, the Warriors are reaping all the rewards, and rightly so, because they're playing some really good brand of football. They've got some young kids that have come in, and we spoke about this earlier in our podcasts. through our first few episodes around, this bench and the makeup and how long is it going to be before these young guys start getting introduced and playing bigger minutes in the game. Lekahale Asima now is a starting back rower and deserves it, and playing bigger minutes than he used to, coming from maybe only 15 to now right up there playing 60 minutes or close to it. Dimitri, he's playing more confident in his style, maybe not getting as much minutes, but you can see the energy that these guys are brought into this team. And then I feel like Aaron Clark, who's in career best form, similar to the 2023 year where there was about 5 or 6 players that could have won, Dally M positions, you know what I mean? Where it was winger from Dallin to Marcelo to Adam Fanua-Blake to Roger to Sean to all these players that were playing career best form. There is some players right now in the same boat to 2023, and it all comes down to obviously what they're trying to create as a club, what they're trying to create as players, but also having fun and enjoying themselves.
The thing that makes it super impressive for me, what the Warriors are doing thus far in 2025, is that you take out of the team Sean Johnson, Tohu Harris, Adam Fanua-Blake. Like, those guys are absolute rock stars of the game, and they are no longer there. Sean Johnson retired, Tohu Harris forced into retirement, Adam Fanua-Blake.
Is he retired, Sean Johnson?
Well, I mean, he's still doing a lot of work, but just not playing rugby league.
He's getting more screen time than the Waz, that fella. Far out. That's what I asked. Is he still playing?
Yeah.
Great ambassador for the Warriors and great ambassador for the league.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, the point is, you lose those 3 guys, and I think a lot of pundits out there, especially across the ditch in Australia, would have written the Warriors off before a ball was kicked in anger. And then when you see the Raiders defeat in Las Vegas, that would have just poured fuel on that fire, right? But the way that they've bounced back and the guys that have stepped up to replace them, you talk about Aaron Clark, and he is in career best form. The guy has been incredible. And they don't lose much by having James Fisher-Harris when he's back fit and firing, do they, in replacing Adam Fanua-Blake. And the other guys like Jackson Ford has been impressive. Marata has been really good when he's played a middle role. But Luke Metcalf for Sean Johnson has been a masterstroke that I didn't see coming. And so much so that in his 8 games this season, he's 3 times picked up maximum points in the Dally M voting. And it's rocketed him right into contention. Yeah, and all of a sudden, he's only 6 points off the lead held by William Kennedy of the Sharks. And I can't help but think that if the Warriors continue on this magical run, you're talking about the Dragons, the Dolphins, the Rabbitohs in the next month being winnable games. They've got the Raiders at home at Go Media Stadium, Mount Smart, and revenge is on the menu there after the Vegas episode. And I feel like Luke Metcalf is going to be front and centre for a lot of these performances. And he won't be included, even though his form is really good, he won't be included in the Origin scenario. New South Wales will be looking at the likes of Jerome Luai, Mitchell Moses, Nathan Cleary as he tries to, drag the Panthers up by the scruff of the neck. So you can forget about Origin. Luke Metcalf will be with the Warriors through that Origin period. I'm wondering if maybe he's going to go close to taking out the Dally M medal. We mentioned it earlier, right? In 2018, when your Warriors did oh so well, making the playoffs only 2 points from top, it was on the back of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's efforts at fullback. He went on to win the Dally M medal. Could Luke Metcalf do the same?
Oh, yeah, that's a huge call, Goran.
Especially this early in the season, right?
Yeah. But I like where you're going with it.
Thanks.
And obviously our conversation around this next 5-week period, if they're sitting closer to, if they get lucky sitting on top of the ladder, he's going to have played a massive part in what they've been able to do, the Warriors. So I feel like he's going to be picking up points if they win those games all the way through there, at least, minimum, at worst, 1 point. So he's going to be a big part, and then he could be sitting at the top of the table when it comes to the leaderboard. When it comes to Dally M's, you know what one thing's going to be what's in his favour.
What's that?
In his favour? You know, because all these guys who selected are Australians. You know, we put 2 and 2 together. He might get lucky, and if they're playing well,
yeah,
they're going to back one of their own.
So
you know what I mean? They're going to back one of their own.
If Luke Metcalf was a New Zealander, a la Sean Johnson, from a couple of years ago,
I'm not saying that.
I mean, I feel like you're alluding to it. You're sort of dancing around it.
I'm not saying that, but I think if the Warriors are doing well and they're sitting higher up the ladder, and I think they're on second right now, equal with the Bulldogs, is that right? And they end up at the top of the ladder come those 5 weeks, he's going to have played a huge part. And because these selectors who watch the game and Australians, I don't know if there's a Kiwi on there, to be honest, Goran, and maybe I'm wrong. Surely someone may know someone, and they might even chuck a comment and let us know that who are these people. But definitely, he's got one thing on his side, which is obviously actually he's got 2 things. His form's going well. The Warriors are sitting nice and high on the ladder, but he's an Australian kid. And I reckon that's where they end up going.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens, eh? Yeah. Look, I suppose the one thing that could scupper a potential Luke Metcalf run for a Dally M medal is his own teammates. And we mentioned the returning players like Dallin and Roger, and these are X-Factor players that could potentially, and Chance, let's chuck Chance in the mix as well, X-Factor players that could take maximum points off of Luke throughout the rest of the season. Because, you know, let's factor in Kalen Ponga from a few years ago. And I think we can comfortably say that he was the only guy capable of producing that many points for Newcastle. And that's why he overran Sean, right? So I think it could be an internal thing that might actually ruin him when it comes to the vote.
Nah.
Okay.
Nah. I think I don't think they will take the points over, because I think if I've watched these games this far of the Warriors, he's played a key part in a lot of the games. Bar obviously round 1 where everyone's questioned whether he's a 7 or not. But other than that, if he hasn't been one of the best players on the field, he's been close to it every time. He plays a big part in the kicking and their systems. He plays a big part in their structures. He's a goal kicker. And then if you're creating more moments like that tackle, they're going, he's one of us. 3 points. So he's shooting to the top of the ladder every day of the week.
Right.
If he continues to do what he's doing, they're saying, look at this kid, he's one of us. 3.
Yeah, bare minimum.
Bare minimum 3
points. Okay.
3 points.
All
so
right.
He's going to be polling right up there, I think, Goran. And let's be real honest, man. He deserves where he is right now. His form warrants what he's doing. The club's form warrants the players to be spoken about, even, obviously with Origin around the corner, or Wade Egan we've spoken about. It warrants conversations because they are playing some quality football.
All right, here is a conversation starter. Because how many times in the last, let's call it year and a half, have you and I spoken about Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and the fact that he's not a centre, he's a fullback or he's a winger. Now, I'm looking at the extended squad that Andrew Webster's named to take on the Dragons this week, and it's great that Dallin is back. I'm really keen to see what he can do after recovering from that wrist injury, the powerful runs and all that sort of stuff. But Roger is on the extended bench, and they've shifted Tane Tuopiki from right wing to left, and Kurt Capewell is in the centres. Now, he has done a job previously against the Broncos, but at the weekend, slotting in for Rocco Berry, maybe Kurt was he was questionable at times, and when you look at his missed tackle stats, they are right up there. He's leading missed tackles in the NRL at this point. So,
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's not a great stat to have. But do you wonder whether Roger slots in at centre against the Dragons, which I don't want to see that happen, because I thought we'd moved on from that thing.
Pompey's the centre?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I thought we moved on from that too.
Because we don't have Ali Leotawa and we don't have Rocco Berry. So if Roger's fit, does Kurt go back to the back row and then Roger plays centre?
Oh, well, if Kurt plays centre, he would have to be so much better than what he was against the Cowboys, because that's where all the points started to come in the second half of that game, and the Cowboys identified that and put him under pressure. I didn't know he missed the most tackles in the NRL competition, which is an alarming stat. But I didn't want to talk about Roger playing in the centres. Because
do I.
This has become he's on the extended bench for a reason. He's pretty close to playing, you know what I mean? You don't put him down there if he's not going to be in the team.
No.
You give him a chance of slotting in, and it just makes sense. And I know I don't want to say it just makes sense that he falls into the centre position. I can't see anyone else moving. If you've got Tane, who's been doing a really good job on the wing. If you've got Dallin, who's coming back on the wing, you're missing Ali Lautaua and you're missing Rocco Berry. You've got Adam Pompey in the centres. If your best option is Capewell,
no,
I think it just doesn't. Well, why would you do it to him when you've got an outside back that can do a decent job?
Well, maybe it's perhaps it's more of a one night only type scenario, we just absolutely have to pick Roger at centre. If fit and available, we have to put him in at centre for this one game.
Well, this is the dilemma.
Time.
This is the dilemma that the Warriors are going to come up with now, is that when everyone's fit, who makes your 17? Rocco Berry, Ali Lautaua, those boys, when they're back fit, who those two are centers, someone's going to have to move.
Oh, yeah. The only I think it's a great question.
Tane.
Tane is out, and then it's one of Leotawa, Pompey, Berry, because I think Roger and Dallin and Chance, they are locks in their positions, right? That's the back three, and so Tane, sorry mate, you're playing New South Wales Cup. And then it's one of those three centres that makes way. And, reading between the lines, well, not actually reading between the lines, literally reading the Warriors media release, it says that Ali and Rocco are the first choice or preferred centres, which automatically puts Pompey on the outer, right?
They've just re-signed him.
I know they have.
For the cover of, because he can cover, I think, winger centre at a pinch. A fullback, yes, you've got another fullback there as well. But I definitely think the future looks like Ali and Rocco Berry, which you can't be mad at, because they're both quality young players. Again, this is the game of rugby league. It's a business. Someone misses out, and I'm guessing Tane's only signed for 1 year. Whether he's put himself on the market, because obviously the way he's playing, he's showcasing his talent. We spoke about this last week. The more he plays, no matter where it is on the field, the more opportunities he's creating for himself. But on your best day with your best 17, Roger finds himself on the wing with Dallin, Nuck at the back, and you got Rocco Berry, Ali Lautaua in the centre positions. That's the best starting outside backs for sure. And quality at it as well. When got nothing against Adam Pompey, I think he's a quality player as well. But somewhere in that mix, someone has to miss out.
Yeah, well, Wetz was part of that 2023 revival, wasn't he? And
Yeah,
like, I'll never
killed
forget
it.
that. I'll never forget that because it was all the perfect storm in a sense, because the Warriors had been away and then they finally return home and the fans are able to watch them after those COVID years, and the results came and there were sellout crowds, and Adam, he played like
It's
every
killing
minute
it.
of every game or something. Wasn't that the
Played every
ridiculous
minute.
stat?
Killed it
Yeah,
and smashed it as well.
yeah.
So he's a quality center at that, and would be a hard conversation for coaches to go, well, how do we do this and keep everyone happy at the same time? But I guess that's what training's all about: competition, repetition, showing what you can showcase, and make the coaches, notice you at trainings and what you can do. And you perform well at training, you perform well on the field. Hopefully, that's enough to keep your position.
Yeah,
And maybe a bit like these two centers, some injuries might come, a bit of luck as well on the way.
But that must be tough. And I want to ask you, like, did you ever experience that throughout your long career where you were fighting for a spot in first grade? Because, like, you don't play more than 300 games if you're in serious competition week in, week out against somebody else. Like you were practically a lock in every pack every year. You know what I'm getting at here? And so at some point, you, as Adam Pompey or Taintua Piki, you go, "Oh, stuff this. Like I desperately want to be a first grade regular. I need to go somewhere that is going to treat me as such."
Well, I think the biggest thing when you're at a club is do you feel valued? Do you feel valued and part of the systems and the style of football or the club in general? The next thing is that what happens is if we've got quality players around us, it's competition, which is, if you're an athlete, competition is the only way sometimes you get better, where someone pushes you to hold your position or makes you actually work that little bit harder. If without competition, Goran, you get comfortable and you hold your spot just because you're comfortable with there's no one else. At the moment, the Warriors New South Wales Cup are winning, the NRL are winning. You go down with, say, an injury, and there's 2 weeks, there's someone else that's just going to jump into your position and go and showcase what they can do. So I think it's an opportunity to grow. So you use that as I guess, fire to be the best version of you as a player, an opportunity to make sure you do all those little things to stay on top of your things you do away from the club. It's also making sure that you're consistent with your performances, because knowing that there is someone knocking on the door or biting at your heels, that if you make one mistake, that there's going to be someone taking your spot. So you got to embrace this. You got to embrace this as an individual. You got to embrace it as any kind of player, that competition is good. It only challenges you. It only makes you better. But it gives you an opportunity to grow and learn from a lot of things, but make you want it even more. So if you want to be a first grader, if you want to be a consistent player, you got to just work your butt off to hold those positions. And every advice you get from your coach, every time you get told to do this, you do it, because it's only going to help you. So embrace the challenge, and go after it.
And as we've spoken about before, Blairy, the opportunity to showcase that talent has been, the case of Taintua Piki this year. He's played,
It's been enormous.
Yeah, exactly. And this weekend he plays again, and so he's putting his performances out there for other teams to take notice of and think, well, maybe we need this guy. And Adam Pompey is the same. He's playing regular first grade footy, even though he may not be the preferred centre. He's played centre, he's played wing. And so he's showing other teams what he's capable of as well. And as the competition expands and evolves and brings in these new teams, and obviously these new teams will need players. There are opportunities not just within the Warriors, but outside. And so, I hear what you're saying about you need that competition internally. So you're going up against each other. New South Wales Cup first grade team members, and they're driving each other to be as good as they can be. But at some point, these players need to be selfish as well and say, look, time is sort of passing me by here, and I don't want like a smattering of first-grade appearances as a bit-part player. I want to say, yep, you know what? For 5 or 6 seasons, I was the starting centre at Insert Club here, or the starting fullback at the new Western entity, the Bears. So, yeah, it must be a really difficult balancing act, right? You know, like being a team player and then also being selfish and saying, I want something to call my own.
Well, you know, we've spoken about him before, Tim Maire, you know, who's down at New South Wales Cup. He has to be playing a big part in their performances down there and doing some really good things down there as well. If they're sitting on the top of your spine, typically you're 6, 7, and 1 and 9. Sam Healy, for example, who's now been moved up because there's an opportunity for him. They're doing some great things down there. So, again, one injury, those guys come in and do a job and things start moving around. The good thing about where they're going now is that everyone's healthy and fit. That's the main thing, Goran. It's, 8 rounds in, and we're heading into the 9th round this weekend.
Round 10 this weekend, yeah.
It's round 10 this weekend. Everyone's healthy and fit. That's the main thing. So with all of that being said, it's a great place to be when you're winning. And when everyone's healthy and fit, it keeps the coaches happy. The physios aren't working as hard. There's not much stress around the place. And there's plenty of competition, which breeds a little bit of the success that they're having right now.
Okay, Blairy, time for Betcha This Happens for round 10. And after the Magic round blowout, which got off to a really good start, I picked 2 anytime try scorers in the first 2 games, and then it went downhill very, very rapidly.
Typically, like most of your bets,
Yeah. I mean, well, hang on. Most of my bets, we stumble at the first hurdle, and I managed to get over the first 2 this time around, but I only got 3 out of the 8. It was an absolute debacle. So anybody who's following these tips, I wholeheartedly apologise, but I'm going to keep going until something good happens. I've got a new idea.
All right.
Would you like to hear this one?
Definitely, tell me.
Okay, it's Women in League round 10 in the NRL, right? And we both know, I think most of us know by now, the important role that women play right across not only NRL, NRLW, and rugby league worldwide, right? And I thought, well, I have a very important woman in my life, my wife Rebecca, and I put it up to her and said, can you do my tips this week? Women in League round. So if Rebecca manages to get 8 from 8, just tipping the winners, I think we just get her back next week and she can do that again and again and again. So
I don't mind that. I don't mind that idea. I wouldn't see Rebecca as someone that sits down and watches the footy, studies the form guide, or even jumps on the app and goes, "Who's playing this weekend?" So I like the non-relatable rugby league suggestion where you've gone, hey, can you do this for me? So let's see what she's got.
Yeah, but unfortunately for her, I think she takes in a lot of it through osmosis, you know, like she's in the room and she's watching me watch the Eels lose and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. Anyway.
She won't go for the Eels. I know that for a fact.
Betcha This Happens then, Blairy, for round 10. We start off with the Eels and the Dolphins. She's gone the Eels. Yeah. Don't act surprised, mate.
Could be gone.
Knights and the Titans. It's the Knights for Mrs. Paladin. She was thoroughly impressed with what you guys did last week against the Bunnies.
Nice.
But she thinks the Bunnies are going to bounce back against the Broncos. Tipping the Broncos to be defeated yet again. I mean, what happened there? I know Nathan Cleary had an incredible performance, but man, the Broncos were one of our teams to do great things, and they still might. But they've tripped and stumbled, a la the Melbourne Storm, a couple of times already this season.
Could you imagine, as a coach, having the team that they have, the pure talent, the pure athletes and the athleticism that they're showing, and then having a couple of old heads guide them around the field, it's unbelievable how they can get up for one game and come out with the intent and play with that intensity and blow a Bulldogs team that were on 7 game straight wins.
Yeah, it was
And
wild.
then turn up the following week at Magic Round and
At their venue.
dish up what they did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just don't understand how they can have, or how they can be so inconsistent with their performance. They went from one high-end performance to like right down the bottom in the space of a week. And I get it, rugby league is a funny game, but you can't, like, they're high, their good is good, and their low is bad. That's what it is. So I don't know what happened, but there'll be some looking at some hard times, looking at the mirror and saying, man, what am I doing? And Madge will be getting stuck into these fellas, that's for sure.
Yeah. What about the Raiders and the Bulldogs? That is a top of the table
That's
clash.
a banger, that one.
Raiders are the favourites. They're at home, paying $1.78. Dogs, $2.05. My wife is saying the home team gets the job done, but it will be an incredible fixture.
Cracker.
This one, yeah, absolute barn burner. And you know, we always talk about the Raiders and how they've already overachieved on what many pundits had them doing in 2025. Have you managed to reach out to Ricky Stuart yet? Because I know that you were going to talk to him about, you know, all the stuff with the Māori team. And has that happened yet? Because you were waiting for a good moment, and like they're right up the top of the ladder, and
they're in a good place.
He must be in a good place as a result. This is what I'm saying.
Maybe what I'll do is check when the Knights are playing the Raiders, and I'll be that person that just rocks up and just goes, "Hey, Ricky, it's Blairy. Are we all good?" Oh, no. It's going to be a cracker, that game, Goran. I think both similar styles of football play that, that dogfight style of game where they just go after each other, and the Bulldogs play that as well, and they've got a bit of a pack that just chases everything. But the Canberra Raiders are exactly the same, so that'll be a bit of a dogfight battle. I can't wait for that one. That'll be a great one.
Do me a favour, when you see Ricky Stuart, just don't even talk to him. Just give him a cuddle. Yeah. Speak with your actions. Speak with your actions, mate.
Maybe I'll wait till All Stars are game, and this time I'll ring him and say, "Hey, mate, any chance I can have some of those players, please?"
Please and thank you. Dragons and the Warriors. The Warriors, as we've talked about, they will continue their fantastic run. My wife has picked them to beat the Dragons. Cowboys and the Panthers. On the back of what the Panthers did in Magic Round, a magical performance from them and Nathan Cleary, going the Panthers to beat the Cowboys. Storm to get things back on track after... This keeps on happening to the Storm, where they get out to a lead and then blow it. And there were some things that went against them, and that Stefano Utoikamanu episode.
Rubbish.
You're pretty pissed off about that.
Rubbish. Oh, it was a bad call. How do you get penalised when you've got the ball in your hand? He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. They were looking at a kick. He didn't kick him. He was trying to get the player was all over his legs and trying to slow it down. They knew what was coming. The Raiders. They knew a drop kick was coming. They made it ugly. A typical Raiders style of football. Get in your face, push and shove, barge in, argy, and lie in the ruck. And then you could even see some of their stuff in overtime, holding their heads, holding their neck. They were trying to find ways to make it an ugly game so that it suited. So it suited their style of football, and getting penalised when you had the ball in those crucial moments, like that wasn't good. That wasn't good to watch. Liero would think a couple of times now. Had an opportunity where did he lash out with the elbow when he come down
on Joe Tapine, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then the tackle at the end, right, to lose the game where they had to throw a penalty. But again, like I heard Cameron Munster speak about it. He's had a lot of those moments, in games where he's just let it go like that, and it's got the better of him in the heat of the battle. No one goes out there purposely hit someone in the head, but that's what ended up happening, and they lost their game. So it's a tough one.
They're doing it tough without Harry Grant, eh? Look, I mean, closer to home, talking about the Eels and how they change completely with Mitchell Moses back in the team. The Melbourne Storm, I feel like this year, for whatever reason, they need Harry Grant to spark things up from that dummy half position.
He's definitely an organiser around the middle of the park. His passing, his options, his running game, his defence is just as good as well. So he's someone that they're missing for sure. Just the way that he plays and the way that he can conduct himself around the field and get people around the park to put them in better positions for sure.
Lastly, in Betcha, this happens for round 10. Seagulls at home against the Sharks. Seagulls are favourite and we're picking them. So we've got a multi as picked by my wife in Women in League round, paying $93.71. As always on the Betcha app, bet responsibly, R18. But look, if my wife Rebecca can manage to nail this one, we'll bring her back next week, mate.
I reckon we'd get her on the potty.
By the time we record this, it's a bit late for her, man.
Maybe just for this segment, we can do the segment just for her.
Yeah, we'll pre-record
the
it.
segment just for her any time of the day, and she can bring it in. We don't even have to wait till Tuesday. She can do it after the games on Sunday without even the team list come out. She can do it, and I reckon she'll get close to winning.
Yeah, all right. No, it sounds like a plan. All right, mate.
Awesome.
Look, we'll leave it there, eh? We've done plenty. We've already predicted a Dally M medal win for Luke Metcalf, and the Warriors are going to be top of the ladder inside the next month. So that's what we've done for League of Our Own today. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, share, comment. We love the engagement. Blairy, awesome to see you, mate. Well done.
Always great, Goran. And yeah, like you said, man, like, subscribe, share this out, jump on all our social medias, listen to our podcasts on Spotify and Apple. And, we love everyone's support. It's a couple of Kiwi fellas having a bit of a laugh and talking about the beautiful game of rugby league. Warriors, New Zealand players in the game. And yes, we've predicted a Dally M medal this year for Luke Metcalf.
Because he's an Aussie.
Because he's an Aussie.